super excited to be here. I know this is the last session, so we'll try to make it fun and exciting and here on this session. So there's a couple of speakers who will join me today. And I'll just walk you through a quick agenda. So a couple of quick introductions, and then after that, talk a little bit about what is Purview, and then we'll go a little bit deeper into, really, we have a couple of engineering leaders here. So Ashish, who is actually one of the creators of some of the features. So if you really love the product, make sure you give him a hug. If you do, I did not bring tomatoes if you want to throw something at him, right? So, but that's Ashish. And then Safina runs a bunch of private previews for all the different capabilities in Purview. Then also we have a special guest, David Johnson, who is one of the people who run Purview inside Microsoft, the mega tenant. So he'll talk a little bit about how he's thinking about Purview. So we'll do a little bit of tech, go deep, but also some best practices to kind of keep it just not all tech and about feature, but talk a little bit about stories, about customers, etc. So, and we'll stay afterwards. A couple of my team members are here. So they can actually also answer any questions for you. So my name is Nishan De Silva. I'm in the security engineering team focused on Purview and super excited to be here. And I just love this slide that how many of you were at yesterday's keynote where Vasu was talking about security? Thank you. That's a significant amount of folks in the room. I just love this slide because it's the era of how we are trying to automate also security with machine speed, of how we can fight the threat actors, the dangers in companies. At the same time, we have to make sure that we have to protect AI. So today, we are going to talk about Purview, which is about protecting AI. So it's about securing AI. So with that, one of the things that, as some of you in most of your organizations, there is a security family. Again, Vasu, it was so nice that I did not prompt her to say, hey, data security is a hot topic. So that was really cool for her to say in the M365 world, and we are hoping to even bring more sessions next year around Purview. So this is just the beginning of, I think last year we had a couple, we had added more this year. We'll keep adding because with Purview is kind of interconnected with M365. And how many of you here actually are using Purview in your organization, or how many of you are also thinking or doing or scaling with Copilot? Great. I'm not going to answer the third question because I might, my feelings might get hurt. How many of you actually integrated Purview with Copilot? I'll ask that question at the end after you, or maybe I'll ask the question here. How many of you are going to actually start doing it after we finish our session? Okay. So with that, I just wanted to ground everyone about Purview, right? It's about making sure we can discover the risk, protect the risk, and govern the risk. This is where I've been in the Purview engineering team for about 8-9 years now. So it was like some of you who have seen Purview grow from information protection from the early births of compliance. And now we are a pretty mega business, across multiple big organizations to small organizations focus on data security. And where we are not only focusing on data risk, sensitivity data, compliance usage, we are beyond doing unstructured data, auto-structured data. There's a lot going on in this space. So just to give you context about how fast we are moving, we have over 145, I think, DCRs, that different features we are trying to get out the door before the end of this year. This is how aggressively, because AI is moving fast, we have to also move fast. So that's just want to give you a takeaway. It's not like we have to keep up, and there's a lot of things. I just met with a customer before this meeting, and they're like, when are you going to start thinking about the information worker? So there's a bunch of things we'll also not only do for the admin side, but also for the information worker side when it comes to thinking about AI. With that, what I'm going to do is now call Ashish to come to the stage and really go deep on kind of like framing up Purview and then kind of go a little bit deeper into the product. So I've known Ashish for about 8-9 years.
Yeah.
And funny story here is that he came from, how many of you use AIP? Wow. Okay. This guy, if you didn't like AIP, this is the guy. This is the guy.
Thanks, Nishan. Okay, so this entire topic is about securing AI apps agents with Microsoft Purview. So the way we have structured this session is that we're going to take each part of this title, break it down for you. Nishan covered the Microsoft Purview part, gave you an overview of how Purview fits into the security family, talks about what we cover in terms of data. Now, what I'm going to do is give you the introduction to the AI part of it. And that starts with M365 Copilot. The entire journey here is a wonderful story. So for the next 10-15 minutes or so, I'm going to tell you about features and I'm going to tell you a story. So let's enjoy this fun little journey together. You'll learn a little bit along the way. From our point of view, Copilot is our UI for AI, right? Copilot launched in November of 2023. I was there when it launched. And this is the Purview journey for AI. It starts with M365 Copilot, November 2023 GA. When you think about what all you do with Copilot, this has exploded so much that you need a community. Actually, all you folks sitting here are the community. Please do plug yourselves in, learn more. You'll find that everything that you learn about Copilot and about Purview, there are people who are willing to listen to you too. It's not just us standing out there. So please share your voice. It's super useful. As we get into the AI start right now, the entire thing that we are seeing since that November 2023 GA timeframe is that Copilot is truly making a difference in people's productivity. And until you actually try it out, and I'm sure a lot of you do, you won't understand the power of this in your organization, how transformative it actually is. Some stats here are just helpful to show you that, but my call to action, if nothing else, is please go try this regularly at your work. Try out the different prompts. Try this AI tool that's available to you, and you start to see why this actually matters. When you try to roll this out broadly within your organization, you'll find that data security and governance concerns are top of the stack that need to get addressed. Turns out that's why Purview exists. So when you think about the frame that Nishan gave, right? Like we do discover, protect, govern. Yes, we have been doing this for Microsoft 365 across SharePoint and Exchange and Teams and all of that. And now we have AI apps also. And that, again, that journey started November of 2023 when Copilot went GA. The central point for you to start all of this, again, if there's anything you have to take away from this, start your journey for data security and compliance here. It's the single place where we'll guide you through your onboarding steps, as well as your posture, as well as tasks that you need to get completed. So again, all of this is public, but I will give you these key things for you to just remember. Take a photo, say, just remember this, go explore. There's a ton of documentation and videos that are there online. Start reading, and we are always there to help you out through that journey. So how does this all come together? On day 0, Purview got integrated with M365 Copilot. And this didn't happen just out of the box. When Copilot went into private preview, a whole bunch of big customers were trying it out. They were super happy with it, but they said, this is all great, super productive, but we cannot deploy this broadly within our organization until some core data security and governance capabilities are just there in the product. Because these organizations, like most of yours, have been dealing with Exchange and SharePoint and all of the security practices and good things that you're doing there. And then you look at Copilot and say, there's nothing. I can't roll it out. That's not going to happen. So in a quick 6 months, we integrated with Copilot, and that resulted in some very obvious capabilities that you have known for some time. Things like, can I see what my users are doing with Copilot? Can you keep that data around and put retention policies on top of it? Can I actually get those prompts and responses if I need to investigate? All the data security value that I have done, can you inherit it into Copilot and make sure it functions normally like the rest of the stuff? Feels very obvious today, but back then as we were working through it, it was not obvious. So we did this, and on day 0, Copilot was enterprise ready. In fact, there is this wonderful Ignite talk that we did in November. It's there in the Ignite archives. I would highly recommend you go look at it, where we talk about these capabilities and the entire Copilot stack and how it works. So I'm going to stop here for a sec and ask you to raise your hand if you're aware of these capabilities. Like, have you seen this? Have you worked with it? 1, 2, not many. Okay, great. So in order to kind of bring everyone up to the same level, just to give you an overview, and again, all this is in-depth, available online. Lot of sessions have been recorded with this detail, with screenshots and things like that. I'm going to give you a quick run through, just so that we can tell the story better. Audit is all about capturing that raw activity inside the Purview audit solution. So you can clearly see what this user is doing, which workload they are using, what resources they have accessed in the context of Copilot. It is all logged. This is then fed into all the reports that we do. So this is the core of like understanding the user activity. Then you get into e-discovery, which is actually looking at the prompts and responses that you're doing with Copilot stored in your tenant in M365, pulling that out and giving you a incident and legal whole view of all of this. You can run your case, you can do your investigation on top of it. It's all there. You can actually see the prompt and response. Data lifecycle management helps your organization be better about where you keep this prompt and response data and for how long. Just like files, just like emails, this is data that is generated for your organization, belongs to your organization. So store it, retain it correctly. And of course, this is split between teams and Copilot so that you can actually set different policies across them. Now, communications compliance was an interesting one. Communications compliance looks at inappropriate use of Copilot. It was originally designed for people talking to each other and catching inappropriate language when those chats and emails and all happen. But turns out you talk to Copilot like a human being. So looking at what you are doing with Copilot with that inappropriate language lens is what communication compliance is all about. So you have to comply with that. So it was a wonderful aha moment for us as we were talking to companies. And finally is all the information protection value that is there. Now, this is the bit of all the data security work that you have been doing so long. So how does it inherit into Copilot? That's what this is about. Let's see if I can get the video to work. Okay, great. Let's follow the video. So what we have here is a prompt that says, what is Project Obsidian? And it's going to do this work of looking through your tenant's data, picking that up, what we call grounding, right? Or retrieval augmented generation. And it picks the files that have this information. Turns out that those files have got sensitivity labels on them. Copilot honors those sensitivity labels, honors the permissions on those sensitivity labels, and puts it on the output. So you can see that the output has this little yellow shield that says Project Obsidian, confidential. So all of this is happening in the background. What did you have to do? Go protect, label your data as you normally should. So our call to action, which has been the same for about 2 years, is go label your data. Copilot will take care of the rest. We have done all that bit. Now your job to go take care of the data in your organization. Remember, all this was November 2023. As soon as we did this, it was relatively well received. Because as soon as we did that, this is great, we love it, but I really don't know what is going on. I need visibility into what is going on there. So in a short 6 months, we had to bring out something called DSPM for AI. You will find this in the Purview portal as well. And the job of DSPM for AI was to give you visibility into what is going on. What is your usage? How many sensitive files were accessed? What is the actual transaction interaction rate that is going on? Are there any risky users? All those wonderful questions that you want insight into, aggregated at your tenant level, be able to drill down into it, understand what's going on. That desire to understand is what DSPM for AI solves for you. So again, we put a plug right in the beginning of this session that said, if you have anything to do, you want to get started with your Copilot journey, start with DSPM for AI. That's because we start with that visibility. It helps you get going. And as you're doing more Copilot rollouts, everything just populates in there. So let's see what that looks like. So you start with this wonderful overview page, which includes getting started tasks that you have to get done. Now, we will talk about this a little bit more in detail, but the one thing that you have to understand is we started with data security as our posture. And data security is not just M365 Copilot, it is wherever your data might go. So we cover third-party AI apps too. So when you look at some of the getting started tasks, it's also about how do you cover your data security posture for not just Copilot as your AI, but all other AI apps that you might be using in your organization. So it's all inclusive. So do follow those. It will get you that holistic view of what is going on. Once you get into the kind of reports that we generate, you'll see that we look at it from a few perspectives. One is activity. We show you activity not just across Copilot, but also across things like your third-party usage, other Copilots that you're using. Then we get into sensitivity and how your data is getting accessed. Is what's in the prompt, what's in your response, what's in your reference files, is there any inappropriate usage, all of that insight in there. And finally, the last perspective is user risk. Because as you interact with AI, remember you're bringing your user risk from your other operations into this new environment. You could also be doing brand new risky things here that bleed back into your other like workloads like Exchange, SharePoint, and things like that. So remember, they're all interrelated at this point. Copilot is just part of M365. So understanding that user risk as a perspective, super important. If you want to drill down into any of it, just click on the graph and you get a detailed view of what is going on. Wonderful stuff that also shows you things like the prompt and the response right there as you want to see it. So again, as you're working through understanding what's going on, we show you this information. You can also look at if there's any sensitive data right there. So again, we flag this for you. You can have a look at any sensitive data that was caught as a part of our usual classification that we do in Purview. Great. Step 2 complete. That was in May of 2024. And then we encountered this very interesting problem in the broad rollout of Copilot, which is, I don't know if any of you have heard of it, please raise your hand. It's called oversharing. Oversharing? Great. If you have encountered oversharing, then you know that the problem fundamentally is about years of CRUD that you have not dealt with, and then suddenly it comes rushing back and you have to deal in the context of Copilot, right? So it's like, brush that under the carpet, forget about it for 10 years, don't worry about it. Data security by obscurity, right? But now Copilot just takes all that away for you. So how do you solve oversharing and how do you get visibility into it? How do you solve it? That was the next problem we had to solve. Again, you will see that we have done a great job in getting that journey started for you. As much as we can provide in terms of information, we have done that. But along with that, controls to actually help you solve oversharing. And one big control that we announced to public preview in November is DLP for Copilot. Baked straight into the Copilot stack, it is the control that helps you look at what data is getting pulled and ignore some of those if it doesn't meet the bar that you want. So, for example, you do not want users in your organization to summarize highly confidential data. Turns out, as you must have been doing since November 2023, labeling all your data. So there's a bunch of data that's labeled highly confidential. Set up this policy and it's going to honor that. Right? You can still work with the data. It's not like the data has disappeared. Your users can work with it, but Copilot will not summarize it for you. So yet another powerful control there. And we put all this together along with our wonderful folks in SharePoint Advanced Management, with Purview, with Entra, putting it all together into a blueprint that you can take and follow for your organization. Because remember, years of CRUD that you have to clean up. It's not going to get wiped away in a day. So you need a plan. You need a sequence of events that you can repeat. And you can get a process in place to do this continuously over time. That blueprint also has been published. So it's the kind of tools that you need, the framework that you need to kind of make this happen. Everything's already available to you. None of this stuff is like secret, public, ready for you to use. Go look for it, and we will provide you links a little bit later so that, again, you can go down this journey. How does this look like to you? From your point of view, we are always looking at the top 100 sites your users are interacting with. This has got nothing to do with Copilot. You're just like opening files, adding new files, doing that sort of operation with SharePoint. We are looking at that list and saying, here are the top sites that your users are interacting with. If you add Copilot to it, there's a very high likelihood that you're going to pick data from those sites. Go look at those sites, fix them. So when you look at fixing them, you get into the set of actions that you can take. For example, something as simple as applying a site level label has been available to you forever. Can raise your hands if you can honestly say all your sites have been labeled. 2 people in the front, and one of them is from Microsoft. But it's hard, right? But these tools help you do the very obvious things that you should have been doing for very long. We're just putting it together in a playbook, in a package that you can kind of just walk through one by one, just take the actions. So very simple stuff. Do site level labels, do library default labels, label all your files with auto labeling, set up data retention policies so that CRUD data that you have lying around for so long is deleted. Run access reviews with SharePoint Advanced Management. It's there. It's part of your licenses. You have it. Do all those things, and turns out that what looks like a mountain, just you make concrete steps towards it, and step by step you're getting better at your posture as well as getting ready for Copilot. Now, I did say that all of this would come together in a way that you can go look at. This is the one that you take the photo of, and right at the bottom is this aka.ms link. All comes together for you there. You don't have to remember any of it. The deck will be shared, the video will be there, photos will be there. Really what I want you to take away from this is A, we have the tools for you. B, the journey is easy if you get started, right? And I want you to have the confidence that we are going to keep doing more and more to keep making that journey better and easier and faster for you. Let's invest. Let's go now. Okay. I'm done with my wonderful talk track, and I'm going to hand this over to Safina, who's going to talk about the next fun aspect of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is everyone having fun so far? I can't hear you. Still not. Okay, that sounds good. Okay. I'm here to talk to you about the most exciting buzzword that's going on around the world. Can anybody guess what it is? It's in the slide. Sorry?
Community.
No. Okay, that's another one, but yeah. Another chance? Correct. Agents. Absolutely. So I'm going to talk to you about agents. So, to start with, Microsoft 365 is where we are the center of the discussion today, right? So all of you have been hearing a lot about Microsoft 365 Copilot, how it is helping you as in secure AI assistant. It's helping you with several tasks in a daily life. But then we have Microsoft Agents, 365 Copilot agents as well, right? How many of you have started building agents? Okay, quite a lot of them. Do you want to share what tools have you been using to build the agents, and how are you actually securing them? Anyone? Should I pick?
Using Copilot and to secure them. I don't think we're securing them yet, actually.
You're not? Okay. Then you're in the right session. Anyone else wants to give it a try? No one is building agents? Sorry.
Yeah, we're building agents, of course, Copilot Studio and Teams Agent Builder. We're also leveraging the MS Graph connectors
Amazing.
and various agents, various use cases within HR or IT. And then we're utilizing the MS Graph with Jira and
Super cool. So do you use Purview to secure them? Awesome. That's a great example of how they are leveraging agents, multiple agents for doing multiple tasks in your organization to meet your business or organization's requirements and using Purview to secure. And that's exactly what is the uber point of this slide here. The standout features here, as you see, you can build agents using Agent Builder, where the developer can quickly spin up custom-built agents based on their business requirements. You can build agents using Copilot Studio, one of my favorite tools, which is low-code, no-code capability developer tool, which is going to help you build the agents. And my demo is going to be based on the Copilot Studio, okay? I'll show you how you can easily build the agent, how you can deploy the knowledge source, and then have your organization start using it very quickly, and also use Purview to protect it. And we have several other agents that you can use with Microsoft 365 Copilot. But the uber point that I want to, and the key takeaway that you want to take away from this slide is, if you're building agent, Microsoft Purview provides that enterprise readiness. Because it covers the security, compliance, and the governance that Microsoft Purview provides, and it streamlines it to the agents that you're building within M365 Copilot. Okay? Now, moving on to the next slide is the slide that you have seen already, talked from Ashish as well as Nishan. So this is our Microsoft Purview, and we are talking about how we are discovering, protecting, and governing your data. And this applies to the agents as well now. The agents that you're building with Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's protected using Purview, and it's the security, compliance, and the governance is taken care of so that your organization can concentrate on building agents instead of, worrying about the security and the governance and compliance, right? Now, I'm going to act as a maker right now and use Copilot Studio in order to show you how I have built an agent and how I've used Purview in order to protect it. So this is the agent that I built, which is Contoso Finance Agent. So with Purview, we are extending the data security and compliance into the world of Copilot Studio. This is a very good example of that. So here I've developed this app where my I do have an option to actually, upload the knowledge source, and this is the place where you do it. In this little screen that you can see, I've used one of my SharePoint's websites so that it follows that sensitivity label that I have applied in the SharePoint, so that when my organization users are trying to ask questions, it follows and adheres those restrictions, right? As an administrator, I have the capability to click on settings in order to check if Microsoft Purview is enabled or not, right? So in this scenario, I see that my organization admin has already turned on Microsoft Purview, which means I don't have to worry about the security, compliance. I can just upload the knowledge source and start using this agent, right? So let's go to another view of how an enterprise administrator would actually look at it, right? So that's DSPM for AI, right? In DSPM for AI, I'll be able to see what you call it as apps and agents, right? Apps and agents is going to give you that visibility into the agent interactions that's happening in your organization. And the view right here empowers the administrators to identify and manage the potential data risk that's associated with the agents. Any sensitive data that we've detected when the users are communicating with the agents, we are able to identify that and put you across in this screen. Right, as you see here on the screen, this is a list of Copilot agents that I have built, and you can see the protection status, which is protected with using Microsoft Purview. You can see the user trend. You can see the prompts and responses. This is an amazing view for me as an administrator, right? In a single pane of glass, I'm able to see how my agents are being interacted by the users. Thank you. Here I can see other insights like user trends, as well as capability to check the policies that have been applied to each of my agents that I have built. Now, let's get deep into it. And now, as an administrator, I have the capability to access the comprehensive insights of a specific agent. So this is one of my agents, the Qantas of Finance agent in this example that I had built, right, which is actually protected by Purview data security policies. And here you can see all the detailed information as to it indicates which policies are applied to the agent, and it provides an option to the administrators to actually create policies as well, as you see here in this example. Now, this is one example how I'm able to find out the risky investigations that's been happened during this interactions. I have the capability to see how many risky prompts and risky responses that have been interacted with this agents. I do have the option to click on view policies. I have the option to actually create policies as well right here, right? So detect any inappropriate or unethical use of agent. I have the capability to see that. And also block sensitive data from AI agent processing. So it also displays the confidentiality level of the data, right? If you want to block certain levels of being accessing this agent, you have the capability to do that right here on the screen. Now, let me scroll down further and see what else I can see. This is the additional risk-related insights that is also available in the detailed agent view, right? Here, we are empowering administrators with the visibility to make those informed decisions to see where you can put the hammer in and where you can open up, right? So this is a good view to understand how my users are interacting and what are the risk levels as well as the number of interactions that's happening. We can see the top reference sensitivity labels here, and also including the data that has not been labeled as well and the files that have been referenced as well, right? Now, let's dig further. So scrolling down further, you can see the additional insights such as active users over time, the prompts and responses over time as well, right? It's a super cool view. Okay. Finally, you can also see the engagement insights here, like the rate of sensitive data in the prompt. So you can see there are many rich insights here on the screen, which is telling me how the interaction has been happening for this specific agent. But now, let's take a look at how we can protect your data, right? And that's where we'd go to the data loss prevention. So to help you quickly gain insights, you've seen this screen earlier from Ashish, right? Where he talked about how this particular data risk assessment runs weekly for the top 100 SharePoint sites based on the usage, right? So with the Copilot Studio agent or any agents that you build with M365 Copilot, you can see the same view here. You can see the ability to actually apply the DLP policies. So in this example, I'm going to look at Obsidian merger. Here we get recommendations on what we can do further to protect our data. For example, we can apply restrict access by label with Purview data loss prevention policy. We can create default sensitivity label for a SharePoint document library and other options as well. Okay. Now, when I click on asking me what are the sensitivity labels that are available. So these are the sensitivity labels that are available for this specific search. Now, I would go ahead and click on add in this example. And just like that, the policy got created for me, right? Now, let's test this scenario, right? Here we have asked Qantas Finance agent to summarize Project Obsidian document, right? And although I'm going to actually zoom it a bit. Although I am the owner of this doc, because of the policy that I had applied in the past, I'm not able to actually retrieve the data here. Okay? This is a really good example. Like when an agent is built within Copilot Studio, it automatically honors that sensitivity label that is applied in the underlying data. Right? Not only that, any sensitive information generated by agents and those labels, that inherits those labels as well. And this ensures that, you're not just building the agents, you're also protecting the agents with the help of Purview. Finally, let's go to the compliance piece. So here, the Copilot interactions are recorded in the audit logs, right? So in the log, you can see how it captures the user identity and the IP addresses so that you can identify who's the user and where is it coming from, and the time and the type of Copilot interaction, Copilot agent name and the app ID and so on. So this level of logging is actually critical for meeting that compliance, security, and e-discovery requirements for an administrator, right? Moving on further, with all this relevant data, you can then conduct investigations with the e-discovery, right? Now, finally, I just want to, talk very summarizingly what we've talked so far. With Purview, your existing compliance and risk policies automatically extend to Copilot's M365 Copilot agents as well, right? If you're using, this means that your audit interactions, your, if you place the legal holds or retain or delete data, and even to monitor and misuse, all of that information is captured in here. You also get that visibility into the prompts and responses content tools to to block the sensitive data from processing, and the insights to help meet those regulatory requirements. So that was about agents. Now, let me just ask you this question. Now, how many of you are going to go and build agents after this? Do we have a... Okay. Thanks. I'm glad. Cool. Now, going beyond M365 Copilot, right? So Microsoft Purview for AI has extended its capabilities, not just to Microsoft 365, but also to this governance and compliance capabilities to across AI ecosystem. As you see here in this slide, the AI tools like Copilot and ChatGPT Enterprise, many of the customers reached out to us. How do we protect this? How do we make sure that we have that Purview protection, right? So there are a number of public previews that we are running, and we would love for you to join them. It's all documented in the public docs. We have Purview for Copilot Studio, just the demonstration that we had earlier, right? It's applicable for AI applications as well as your agents that you're building with Copilot Studio. And ChatGPT Enterprise, DLP for M365 Copilot. And if you are using Security Copilot, and if you want to monitor those interactions using Security Copilot or even Fabric Copilot like Power BI, right? You have the capability to monitor all the capabilities that we just talked about with Purview. Right now, with this, I want to invite David Johnson on stage and have him talk how Microsoft does it.
So I'm David Johnson. I'm in Microsoft's digital organization, so effectively Microsoft's IT org. And I'm accountable for the architecture and strategy and governance for the Microsoft tenant. How Microsoft manages Microsoft on this. So obviously security is a team sport. And within Microsoft, same thing. It's Microsoft Security, Microsoft Digital, legal, everyone's involved in this kind of process, of course, plus the end user. So we have to manage ourselves really well and across organizational boundaries. It's not exactly the playbook that was described before, but at the same time, these are the details of what we're doing internally. So everything from, number one, get your Purview label schema in place. That's foundational. Without that, you kind of have nothing else. And so we think about that. We also think about a very important aspect of we want data on the tenant, meaning we allow employees to create things. Employees can create SharePoint sites. Employees can create teams. Employees can create agents. That's all self-service in our tenant. And that's a purposeful thing because I'd rather it be on my tenant with the data that I can manage with Purview being able to watch over everything versus the data leaving my tenant and happening somewhere else.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate it. I've known David for about 15 years, and he's one of my toughest critics, but also one of the most reasonable leaders who kind of work with us. So very similar to in your own organization, I'm sure that you'll have to, if you're working with the security organization, if you're as a tenant admin or administrator, this is the balance that we are seeing, that we kind of went through the same journey when we went from on-prem to cloud, and I think we are back to that same kind of journey again. But thank you again, David, for sharing your best practices, and we continue to work on, because just like how we work on agents, and then here comes tomorrow, multi-agents. I want to take a minute now to talk a little bit about some of the work that our partners are doing. The same way that Ashish took us through the journey, and then Safina went and talked about what we're doing with agents and the reality of what happens inside Microsoft. We also needed to make sure the ecosystem also thrives. So we had to work with a couple of partners. So I'm just going to, this is a good opportunity for you to take some pictures of, we're going to showcase 3 partners' work that they are doing around the journey of DSPM for AI and helping customers, because we are seeing 3 types of customers today. One, customer is on the path of M365 and Copilot. They have Purview, but they have not deployed it at all. Second, they've started on buying a few Copilot licenses. They have some Purview. Now what? The third is, oh, we are a big Purview shop. We have Copilot running. I need more from you. That's Ashish who will give you more on that. I also want to make sure that we do a good time check where I'm going to finish 3 slides real quick, do some reference, and I think some of the most entertaining things for us and insightful things and knowledge is when we go into the Q&A. So let's get to the Q&A very quickly. But before that, this is where you look at Epic Global is one of ours, and I love their 1, 2, 3, 4 process and how they are addressing this. And we were just talking the other day about a case study about how they're working with a big energy organization, how they fast got them from 1 to, in just a few weeks, how fast they were able to get them up and running. So Epic Global is one of our strategic partners. Second one is Infotection, very similar. Everyone has these deployment guides, just like we have the blueprints. There are implementations because we are moving so fast, and this is where these partners are also being agile with us, helping with customers to deploy very quickly. So Infotection is one of our other partners who have their in 8 weeks how you can get from 0 to getting deployed with Copilot. And similar to, I think you heard Antonio talk earlier this I think week, he talked about DSPM for AI, and they also have a very, been a great partner of ours for a long time, Protiviti. So these I just wanted to at least highlight 3. I'll run through them real quick again. Epic Global, Infotection, and Protiviti. We work with a bunch of other partners too, but these were 3 that who have just helped us get going faster. And then our goal is to continue to build a bigger ecosystem. As you can see, Purview is kind of like one of those things. Couple of years ago, people were trying to figure out what the heck is Purview, and today it's becoming important as you work in the world of Copilot and agents. With that, why don't Ashish and Safina come up, and then we'll get into the Q&A.
Questions, if there are any. Oh, okay. Wait. Right in front. Oh, there first, and then.
Yeah, well, for now we didn't have deployed any labeling, any sensitive labeling in the tenants. But for Copilot, our managers insist to find solution. Is there any way to use labeling for Copilot, handle this and secure this data from?
So that is where the oversharing, the risk assessment that I showed you, right, which focuses on the top 100 sites, that will help. Because we recognize that your entire estate will be like hundreds of thousands of sites. Where do you start? So let's start with the top use thing is our philosophy. Go do labeling for just that. And most of the time we see that Copilot will reference these kind of data.
But what kind of labels we have to put in place for Copilots? Labeling is big thing. SharePoint.
Copilot doesn't have special labels. It is still your labels that you'd apply for your organization as your data security posture. Like what you do for files and emails, Copilot just reads that, right? So you still need those files and emails labels.
I'll add a little bit to that. And this was a conversation I had with David Johnson just maybe 2 weeks ago. We have customers who have these very complex policies, and they're like, wow, I can't get this deployed really quickly. And I said, what do we do, David? Do we tell them to put their head in the sand or actually keep going forward? He said, look, I have a very simple, look at how Microsoft, we have like 5 labels, and then we have little city of that. But he said, look, first of all, any organization, first thing you should do is look at what you are in the business of. Second, look at the areas there is risk, and then identify a couple of labels and get going. So take a crawl, walk, run approach. If you take a step back and say, I had a customer, it's a manufacturing company that said they had a 3,500 taxonomy for sensitivity labels. That's going to take 5 years to even get them going, right? So it's a really good question how Ashish is like thinking about, if you're thinking an AI first model, you still can start that way.
And between the partners that we have highlighted, Nishan's team at Microsoft, there are people who can advise you on what is this right 5-label structure that you need to get started simply. Like, we have experience in doing this for 8 years now. So you can leverage us.
Last week we worked with a massive credit card company. We walked them through very quickly within few days, said, here's a recommendation, and they took it.
Perfect.
Nishan is getting his steps in.
Okay, I'm going to ask the dreaded license question. So, in comparison between the E3 discovery and the E5 discovery in Microsoft Purview, what is the license model that we can get away with without having to spend the expensive E5 license? Because most organizations have budget conscience. We have over 25,000 users, 1,000 Copilot license. And the price just racks up. So, in order to create the governance we want with our Copilot agents, what can we get away with for E3 to govern these agents that we have in our tenant?
So the way that the agents use data is the same as how Copilot uses data. So if you are using E3 to apply, for example, site default labels, and then you are, say, manually applying labels on your files and things like that, that work that you're doing carries over to M365 Copilot, carries over to M365 Copilot agents. The downside of that E3 approach is that it is just slow. And there are features, things like the DLP for Copilot, that do not carry over. They're part of E5. You need E5 for that. So the work that we have done largely follows everything you already know of E3 and E5. Like E3 is manual labels, no classification, no automatic labeling. Same thing just carries over for the Copilot world. It's not different. We haven't done anything new. It's just that.
Yeah. Is there some features in advanced SharePoint management that we could apply that might be a little lesser than going full E5? Would that be an add-on?
Oh, 100%. And you get SharePoint Advanced Management with Copilot licenses. So you can absolutely start doing permissions management, start looking at data that you may want to clean out, sites that are unused, inactive sites. So there's a bunch of cleanup that you can do with SharePoint Advanced Management. So we can get
advanced SharePoint management with our Copilot license?
Correct.
Okay, so if we have 1,000 Copilot license, we have 1,000 SharePoint Advanced Management license.
There's absolutely stuff you should use. We highly recommend it.
Okay, that was my confusion.
Yeah.
Real quick, I was just gonna add to yours. There's add-on licenses that you can do, like we did the IPNG to assist with some of those features.
That's right. So since we were talking about E5, you don't have to do all of M365 E5. You can do E5 IPNG just to get the purview value, and you can use that. That's correct. Thank you for that.
Okay. So I have a scenario. Some of our makers, some of the business makers who develop the agent, they're extending the Power Apps workflow by extending the Azure AI services or kind of an HTTP request of any other external AI services binded into their workflow. Does the Purview able to do the risk analysis in that cases?
See, right now what we are doing is looking at the activity that the agent is up to. Right? So just the way that for Copilot, you as a user are talking to Copilot, we recorded that activity. Same thing we are recording for an agent. What is that activity? What we are not doing yet is looking into all the 10 steps inside an agent and saying, oh, that one step that is actually going outside to the world and doing something, that is the risky one. We're not deconstructing the agent to look at risk. We are looking at it as a black box, input, output. What is the risk of the app in that sense? That's what's happening today. And it totally makes sense to break that, deconstruct that, look at the specific aspect. We don't have that yet.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question. Right now, in our organization, a lot of business units asking for the agents deployments. So how we approach is giving them a dedicated environment in terms of like message consumptions or pay-as-you-go tracking standpoint. So at the last 2 months, it's been like 25 new environments been created and a lot of agents been deployed. So in terms of risk analysis or using the Purview, so is it at the tenant level or we can track at the environment level also?
We don't have environment level tracking. Purview is just enabled by default because we are part of the orchestrator stack. So it's just on. It's just letting you know just how it works. There is no control to say turn it off for one workspace or like something that's not there.
Okay, thank you.
But if you need it, let's talk offline. Let's figure out why you turn off Purview for certain cases. Or is it really to customize the level for each workspace or something like that?
So we need it for sure, but we want to categorize it, like which business unit, how many agents are running on that, what kind of risk analysis being done, what actions need to be done.
That you will get over time. That we are enhancing the visibility part of it. Yes, you will get.
Oh, thank you.
On off may not happen.
No, we are not looking for. Thanks.
Speaking of constraints, for smaller firms with hundreds of users and even fewer IT folks, this can feel very overwhelming to set up and manage. Do you have a recommendation for smaller firms how to leverage some of these tools to kind of make sure that your security posture, you have one when you start rolling out agents and people start using AI?
Yeah, so we are super early in that journey and we are trying to get there as quickly as we can to give you easy to understand dashboards about your posture and like clear recommendations on steps that you should take to like in the experience itself tell you here's what you should do and this is how you'll get ready for Copilot, and here's what you should do and this is what you'll get this is how you'll get ready for agents, and then continuously monitor that. So we are trying right now, a lot of the things that you see are controls that we make available to you, but you are kind of responsible for like driving. You're in the driver's seat, you have to actually move it yourself. We are trying to reach the point where we kind of do it for you and you just see, okay, everything's happening and that kind of stuff. It will take us a little bit to get there, but we are absolutely heading in that direction, and we recognize that SMBs want just a, you got it, just I agree, let's move on, we've got this for you kind of state. We want to get there very quickly. It's something that I'm thinking about right now. Does that help? Yeah. Okay. Run, Nishan, run.
Sorry, would you be able to recap again the differences in Purview support in E3 versus E5 versus Copilot licensing again?
Okay. I'm going to keep it like at a framework level just so that you think. E3 is foundationally about labels. You can, with E3, you can set up labels. You can apply labels manually to your data. You can do the site default labels and things like that. It's the very base layer of this. With E5 in Purview, you get classification, you get DLP, advanced stuff there, you get auto labeling. It's basically our scale, go do bunch at scale kind of stuff. Obviously, you can't do stuff in E5 without doing some basic stuff in E3. So like that's why we say get started with labels, which is our broad E3 story. When you get to the point of there is just so much to do, you basically recognize the value that doing it one by one only works when you are in small POC kind of stages. You need scale. Scale comes with E5 roughly. Copilot just inherits that. Copilot is just another workload in Purview. If you were doing this for SharePoint, forget Copilot. There's no Copilot. Like you have 100 SharePoint sites. You still have to set up the label, apply label on the site, apply label to files on the site, do all that kind of thing. Would you do that one by one, maybe for 10 sites, 20 sites, 100 sites. 500,000 sites, not going to happen, right? So what you were doing for your data is what you are buying E3, E5 for. Copilot just takes all that work that you have done and says, great, I'm going to leverage that. So the only new thing in some sense that is Copilot specific is the DLP for Copilot. This is like we have DLP for Exchange, DLP for SharePoint, DLP for Teams. The workload at Copilot, that's the new E5 value. But the core foundational stuff is still the same. Does Copilot use labels? If you have E3 and you've done some labeling and stuff like that, you will still see that value show up in Copilot, where the label inheritance, that little icon showing out in the output of Copilot, all that will happen, right? So it is really not about Copilot. It is really that Copilot does everything that you have already done before. And do you need E3 or E5 for that is your choice.
Data DLP is only in E5. That's what you're
Yes.
saying.
But remember, you have those 2 layers below that we were talking about, that you have SharePoint permissions. If you cleaned up your SharePoint permissions, that's the base layer. You just got to do that. SharePoint Advanced Management is for that exactly. It's part of your Copilot license. Then you have label-based permissions that you can apply. Highly confidential, restricted to a bunch of users. Those permissions, that's part of E3 too. Then if you want more than that, then you have DLP for Copilot, that is E5. So you do have controls on that in E3 value. So just, yeah, explore that area too.
Thank you so much for the session and everything else which you guys have done. Just wanted to quickly check any thoughts and reflections on the SIT, or sensitive information type detection, because we continue to run into a lot of false positives which trickles downstream. And now we talk about Copilot, LLMs, and so many other nice things. So are you planning to change the base model so that it becomes a lot more accurate, or some fine tuning which we can do as a customer? Because as of now, it's a black box, and what we get, it's probably not as much usable.
That's actually a good point. Our classification stack out of the box does everything, in the sense that it has a lot of false positives on one end, but it also has a lot of advanced classifiers that can be very precise. What we have found success in is with customers fine-tuning what they really care about. There are a bunch of things that are going to come in the next few months that will help you do this better. So you could say, for example, I only care about these 5 out-of-the-box sits, and I want to fine-tune this, and this is my confidence level that I care about, and put all that together. And that will make your experience with classification just a little bit better. This is what, like Microsoft and a whole bunch of companies that we have worked with, this is our guidance anyway. Yes, there's a lot of, it looks too much out of the box. So much false positive on one end and so much complexity sitting on the other end. Yes, again, the raw control exists. Till now, we have been looking at like help from partners, help from our deployment team to help customers fine-tune that to really what they care about. But again, more tools in the next month. The gentleman went away, but it is focused on SMBs to make that job simpler, so that, again, the noise disappears on either end and things like that. Does that make sense?
On that note, let's, you and I have to catch a flight.
Yes.
Let's not miss that flight, because there is no flight till tomorrow.
That's correct.
But there are other peer leaders here, Emily, Sophie, and also we have Infotech and Epic folks here too. So we'll hang around for about another 5-10 minutes, and then we got to actually head to the airport. But thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Cummins is a 105-year-old company that got its start in the diesel engine business. But we really are a technology company, always innovating, always looking for ways to make better power solutions for our customers. With the speed of the technology is growing today, we need partners who can help us with technologies that make us more efficient, faster to market, and more competitive.
When we started the journey of Microsoft Copilot, we understood that providing a secure data and also clean data to Copilot is critical. So having a secure platform and a governed platform is critical for any AI platform to succeed. And that is when we decided to go with Purview. Purview and its solutions and features work in the backend to ensure that the data that they work every day is tagged with the right classification or right record type, ensuring it is marked for sensitivity and also marked for record management.
My team and I have done some wonderful things for the company with this technology that reduces the administrative burden on our employees, saves on storage costs, and reduce a lot of our information risk.
Purview works for you without you knowing it is working for you. This definitely impacts us at Cummins because this is making the data more safe and secure.
The more we can make that a seamless experience for our employees, the better prepared they're going to be to help Cummins meet our 21st century challenges. Purview is going to help us on that journey.